Hello, this is the TradeSite Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, the 28th of February 2016 and ending on Friday, March 4th. Hope you had a good trading week. It wasn't super exciting, although the dollar did finally get a pop on Friday. You can see we had a Monday an update, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday flat, Friday up based on this daily chart of the dollar index. You'll also notice that the 9-bar startup phase, that 9-bar count that hit the low there back about 2 weeks ago was once again the low, and so now we're 5 bars up. If I go to projection mode, 5 bars up on the new count. So there it is right there. So heading back towards that green static trend line, that's just the ebb and flow of the markets as it is. Here's the euro dollar. This one actually, remember, got to a 13 secret sell signal. That's the big signal back around that same time, and that's what brought it back in. And now it's completed 9-bar startup phase to the downside. So that has run its course. The pound dollar broke to new lows this week, selling off quite a bit. Aussie dollar, not much this week at all. Here's the pound yen, also sold off, obviously. The thing's been selling off here for a month straight. Not pretty. Euro yen also selling off. Everything about the yen. Well, remember when the euro selling off against the yen, that's the yen getting stronger. The pound Swiss also sold off, and New Zealand dollar was really bored. All right, let's take a look at the intra-week action. This is 30-minute candles on the euro dollar. The range from high to low for the week is 200 pips. The big move was on Monday. Tuesday was dead. Wednesday was dead. Thursday was dead. Friday moved again. Meanwhile, on the pound, high to low for the week. And by the way, I'll point out, look at this. We had a little gap down last week that never filled. That's unusual. Forex doesn't gap that often anyways, and usually if it does, it fills it right away. So that's kind of interesting. High to low here for the week is actually 450 pips, but again, a lot of it Monday. Tuesday was a drift. Wednesday was pretty boring. Thursday was flat. Friday was a little back and forth. But overall, some movement on the pound. All right, what do we have for the week ahead, just so we can get our heads around what to expect? So let's start with the economic data Sunday evening here in the U.S. Building consensus out of New Zealand, retail sales and preliminary industrial production out of Japan, the MI inflation gauge out of Australia. We've got also company operating profits and private sector credit out of Australia, housing starts out of Japan, German retail sales, German import prices out of Europe. UK, we've got net lending to individuals, we've got money supply, mortgage approvals. This is all Monday morning early. CPI out of Italy and their core CPI. Canada, current account and RMPI, IPPI numbers at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time Monday morning. The U.S. has Chicago PMI 15 minutes into the stock market, and then pending home sales 15 minutes later. That evening, Overseas Trade Index out of New Zealand, AIG Manufacturing Index out of Australia, unemployment rate and household spending out of Japan, and then their capital spending. Building approvals and current account out of Australia, manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI out of China, Caxton manufacturing PMI. Japan's got their final manufacturing PMI. Australia's got their rate announcement from the Bank of Australia that night. 10-year bond auction out of Japan. All that, we're just now starting Tuesday. Commodity prices out of Australia, retail sales out of Switzerland, Spanish manufacturing PMI, Swiss manufacturing PMI, the same for Italy, the same for France, the same for Germany, along with their unemployment change. Same for broad European sector, and then UK. So it's all the manufacturing PMI data in a couple hours there going into Tuesday here. Unemployment rate out of Europe is a sector. Canada's GDP at 8:30 a.m. It's a second look. RBC manufacturing PMI out of Canada. Then the U.S. is releasing our final ISM manufacturing PMI. Construction spending, total vehicle sales is in the afternoon at some point, usually monetary base out of Japan that night. GDP out of Australia that night. GDP out of Switzerland going into Wednesday. Spanish unemployment change out of Europe. Construction PMI out of the UK. PPI out of Europe. ADP non-farm employment change out of the U.S. Crude oil inventories here in the U.S. and then the beige book in the afternoon. Heading into Wednesday evening, we've got AIG Services Index, trade balance out of Australia. Going into Thursday, nationwide HPI out of the UK, Spanish Services PMI, Halifax HPI. We got Italian Services PMI, French Final Services PMI, German Final Services PMI. And then the broad European Final Services PMI, same with the UK. Retail sales out of Europe, French 10-year bond auction, Challenger job cuts. Then we've got the unemployment claims. That's the weekly number here in the U.S. along with the non-farm productivity and the revised unit labor costs. Final services PMI, ISM PMI services here in the U.S. And non-manufacturing. We've got factory orders in the U.S. And then natty gas. That's the weekly number, obviously. Retail sales out of Australia Thursday evening. Average cash earnings out of Japan. Going into Friday, which is finally not much there. Retail PMI trade balance out of Canada. Labor productivity. And then the U.S. has unemployment and trade balance. And there's two of our big three right there. So we'll be half size ahead of those for the session on Friday. The rest of the week, a lot of data. None of it are big stuff that we usually have to worry about, so we won't be. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal 12. If you've not taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. Looks like a straightforward trading week with a lot of data until you get to Friday and some of that stuff, although there are a couple of rate announcements out of some of the secondary countries. Everybody have a great trading week. We'll hope to see you in the lab.